will be mostly dealing with ITS in rail transport. So when we say about intelligent rail transport systems, we have to deal with mostly the traffic control systems. Apart from that, the smart trains, the operations of train, and track maintenance, and as I've said, components of a modern train. So these three things we are mostly dealing with. Four things: one is traffic control system, one is the modern trains, one is the track maintenance, and fourth one is the intelligent train operations or fleet management. So how the trains are controlled from right from the beginning of the rail history. So initially there was only a manual train controlling, where a controlled manual block was used. So these are the four types of manual train controlling which are used. They may be a block system or they may be non-block system. What is block and what is non-block, I will tell you. But uh, earlier there was a written authority was required for one train to proceed from a station. So suppose this is the railway route. This is one station. This is another station. Okay, and now suppose a train is waiting here. So initially the system was that in order that this train will pass this particular stretch, it has to take the permission of station master of this particular train. And this station master permission, sometimes it was a written permission. Even now sometimes in some emergency situations this written permission is taken from the station master to cross this section, then only these trains can cross this section. And this is a single line. Suppose it means that no train from here can start unless this train reaches this station number 2. So therefore a written permission is required from any train if it is crossing this station. uh, this permission of this particular station master is handed by this train to this station master. And whenever any further trains, it is ensured that any further trains are not coming, then only this station master can allow the other train to pass this section. So this is how it was a like foolproof system. And even in spite of the telecommunication failure, whenever there was lack of mobile phones at that time also, this system was readily used. Okay, there is one thing which I have to indicate. It is very interesting that there is a there was a metal token system, ball and ring system. So what exactly it is? uh, that each and every train guard here, it they carry some kind of ring from the previous station. Okay, now there will be this ring is with the driver of this train, or the loco pilot it is called. They don't call the driver, they say loco pilots. uh, and this ring has to be exchanged with the ring of this particular station. Okay, so there will be as the train crosses this station, it has to reduce its speed in order that this driver will throw this ring. Okay, there will be a person sitting here, standing here with another ring of this station, and this ring will be inserted into the ring of this station and the loop, and the new ring of this station will be thrown back to the loco pilot of this train. Okay, so what happens is one particular station's ring are taken to another station. Okay, once it is ensured that this station has got the previous station's rings, then only this particular station master can allow any train movement. Okay, uh, 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 if this ring is not returned back to the station, then till that time this particular station master also cannot allow any train to pass this. Otherwise, simultaneously, if there is passage of both the trains, then there is also some issue. So there is a it is a very slow system, and we have to rely for one train to cross. Okay, sometimes the distance between two stations can be long. Okay, sometimes like in remote areas it can be also 20 to 25 kilometer. So the trains have to wait till that long to receive this, and again to come back. So it will take almost more than half an hour to cross this section, and another train has to wait here till that time. Okay, so still it is used in some sections of Indian Railways, some small sections like say wayside tracks or some good sidings and all. This kind of system is used, and it is also called as one train only system because only one train is allowed to pass at one time. So if a train has passed any section, then unless another train comes from that section, any authority is not given. Okay, after that we come to the signaling. So there is a manual signaling was used. Initially there were semaphore signals. So semaphore signals are those which directly operate without the help of electric lights. They are just levers, and based upon the angle that suppose it is inclined or suppose it is totally horizontal, then it is red. If it is inclined, it is green or yellow. So these kind of semaphore signals were used initially, and they were later on followed by electric signals, the normal red, green, yellow. Now there are four: red, green, yellow, double yellow, and red, uh, yellow, double yellow, and green signal. So they are the manual signals, which are also very common. This kind of manual signaling is very common in Indian Railways, where station masters have to individually give uh, uh, the signaling for any train to cross any section. So next we move on to automatic block system. So I have just shown a section, maybe Kharagpur, and one station before Kharagpur is Jagpur. So this distance is about 10 kilometers. Now in the previous slide I explained that this distance, if it is very long, then it has to be divided into further blocks, and each and every block has to be managed separately. So this kind of block system is now popular. Either these blocks are manually controlled by the station master present at the previous station, or they are automatically controlled. So they uh, every block has one signal before it, and this signal will inform what is the occupancy of this block or the blocks which are ahead of it. So suppose a train is departing this station. Okay, suppose it has just started from Kharagpur section and it has got a green signal. So this signal is called a starter signal. If it moves immediately, the signal will turn red. So this red will indicate that the block which is ahead of this signal is occupied immediately by a train. If it moves further on the second block, so the next signal will turn red and the previous block signal will turn yellow. It will indicate that train is occupying one block ahead of this block. Okay, if it moves further, then you have observed that double yellow also, it means that two blocks ahead also there is a occupancy of the train. And if it turns green, it means that at least for the next three blocks, at least for the next two blocks, there is no train. So that's why that trains can proceed. So each and every signal, maybe they are having some speed limit. Stop in means definitely the train has to come to a zero speed. Single yellow means around 30, then double maybe around 60. I am not sure about the speed limits. And green means they can proceed as per the whatever is the desired speed limit or the speed restriction of this section. So the distance between two stations may be divided into several blocks, and each block is called as automatic signaling section. And simply what happens is this: whenever this train is passing this circuit, there is a relay circuit which gets completed, which automatically it will indicate the signals to turn on or turn off depending on the situation. Okay, so there is no manual intervention in this kind of systems, and maybe if there is any signal failure, then it is difficult to report it. So the train drivers only they inform if there is some kind of signal failure. So why I have told initially these systems also is that because if there is any signal failure, then at that time there has to be a manual train controlling. Okay, like there was a lot of there were incidences, or if any like emergency situation comes, or like recently in like Harishchandrapur there was damage to the signal caused by miscreants during the CAA act. So this damage, it led to it was a very automatic block system was there, ABS system was totally damaged, and Indian Railways had to resort to the return authorization to proceed, due to which it delayed significantly the train operations before they were resumed. Or suppose if a new railway line is laid, and only just to say for example during the construction or engine rolling before actual passenger traffic has started, so at that time also this kind of return authorization or one train only systems are used. And after this comes the most advanced, that is centralized traffic control, where direct information about all situation of all the trains on all the tracks is given to one central unit of the traffic controller. Similar to how we had the traffic management centers in the roadways, like that there is this centralized traffic control system. So it consists of a centralized display unit and control panels, which are connected by various means such as radio, train schedule recorders, axle counters, passenger information systems, etc. So in Mumbai, this centralized traffic control system is already in place in both central as well as western. Okay, I think even in Kolkata also, in the Howrah division of both uh, like Eastern as well as Southeastern Railway, this centralized traffic control has started. Okay, so what exactly happens is all the trains display, there is a huge display, and on that the position of each and every train is known, and based upon that the decision about which train can enter or leave which side, that that can be taken very quickly and very accurately. And based upon that, there are automatically, if a decision is taken that this line should be made clear, so there are relay circuits, and it is called as route relay interlocking, RRI systems. So automatically one crossing which is there in between the tracks, suppose a decision is taken to give passage to any train, and suppose these are several tracks here. So all these tracks are connected together. So any train which is waiting here, if a decision is taken to route this train, so it will pass through a lot of crossing points, say here, here, here. Okay, so all these crossing points, they are automatically adjusted by means of this route relay interlocking, or RRI. So this route relay interlocking, it ensures that all the points and crossings are automatically taken care of, and once a decision is taken, all these points are set up thoroughly, and all the other points which are any conflicting paths which are coming, they are automatically stopped and all the signals for these conflicting paths are turned red. So the decision is left to the manual operation. However, the train protection function is performed by the system. So this is the main part, that the safety of these trains are ensured if this centralized traffic control system is started. As I've indicated, these signals which are there, all these signals are automatically set to red or yellow depending on situations. After this, the next phase is automatic train controlling. So slowly we are now moving on to driverless trains also and driverless controlling. So now we'll move on to the train controlling part. The train which has train loco pilots and all, they are also human beings. They can make mistakes like any other human being. So although the margin of human error is very large, so but then if it is a huge network like Indian Railways, which has more than 11,000 trains railing daily, at that time any mistake cannot be tolerated. It will lead to huge accidents. Like there was a Gaisal train disaster, which was a mistake of the loco pilot only, which killed more than 2,000 people in 90, I think 2004 or something. So this kind of automatic train controlling is also used. It has started from Konkan Railway. So what this automatic train controlling is all about? So a salient feature is that any train which is running in the system, the information about it, the train, that which train it is and how much late it is running and where it is positioned exactly, all this information is transferred from the train to the control station, centralized control unit or whatever, either two ways, either to the tracks, that is to a circuit or electric manner, or to the GPS, that is satellite communication. So in GPS we have the Konkan Railway has started the Suraksha Kavach network, where all the equipment, all the locomotives that are passing the Konkan Railway route of 444 kilometers, they have to be fitted with a GPS unit which will enable the effective controlling, because Konkan Railway is a very mountainous terrain and it is very difficult to the land nearby, it is very unstable, especially during the rain time. So the system is able to control the train if the driver is can also like the system can also control the train also. Maybe automatic braking is there, or perhaps reduction of speed. These kind of facilities are provided using this automatic train controlling. Means some unit is there inside the train, and that unit transmits the information outside, and from the outside then necessary communication can be established with the loco pilot. Okay, so this automatic train controlling is also called as ATC, and apart from the train controlling, the system is also able to just supervise. Supervise means auto train supervision, ATS. So this is ATC and ATS by means of SCADA. So SCADA is supervisory control and data acquisition. That is the full form of this SCADA. So what exactly is this SCADA? It is mostly you will observe this term in the like production engineering or manufacturing units, where maybe if there is a large assembly line of different equipment which is mass produced in any industry, then there needs to be supervisory control from remote access, maybe through cameras and all that way. So this SCADA is used, and it is also used in transportation. This is one of the very important components of ITS. So what is SCADA? It is also used apart from rails. It is also used sometimes to observe the supervise the road traffic at ports, maybe loading and unloading of goods and all these things, and also at the airports to supervise the flight movements which is arriving a particular airport. So the function is that all the information about the train, individual train, is supplied to a central processing unit, and based upon that it is connected elsewhere. So it is mostly used to regulate the electric supply on the trains. So there are various substations, and based upon the requirement of power requirement, there needs to be a regular changing in the electric supply. So that kind of facility can be arranged through this SCADA. Then it is also used for controlling the train movement by remote monitoring. As I have told that either emergency braking or controlling the speed, these kind of movements can be controlled. It is also used to control the railroad gates or level crossing, as you say. So because the information about the opening or closing of these gates, it needs to be communicated to the central system, and based upon that, then only the decision regarding the movement of trains can be made. Then there is a passenger announcement system also. It is in place in several suburban rail networks across India. And say depending upon if there is any issue with any train, then immediately in Mumbai I have observed that immediately it is requested that the whoever is the local pilot, EMU driver and the guard should start their trains immediately from the station. Okay, so this kind of even passenger announcement system is made so that passengers come to know if there is any delay in rail network, of if there is any abnormality or something like that. So this is immediately either this passenger announcement system is manual or it is automatic. Like if in Howrah station you have observed that there is a automatically pre-recorded voice and it is recorded again and again. So this kind of announcement system is also directly used. It is also used for rail tunnel monitoring. Means if there are rail tunnels, there is a main problem of ventilation, and because especially if it is a diesel train and it is a diesel section, and so all the smoke that is emitted by the locomotive, that smoke, it does not have any place to get out. So for that purpose there needs to be artificial ventilation. So air quality index, that AQI, which is present inside the tunnel, it is communicated to the central system, the centralized traffic control system which is there. And based upon that, if it is unsafe, then the trains are indicated accordingly, and they may be stopped. Some alarm indicators indicating panic and something, say stop the train, pull the chain, that is a mechanical way. But now there you have observed that if you have to speak to the driver of a metro railway, then there is, you have to press some button and you can directly speak. It is also used to monitor means just supervise the speed restrictions. For example, if a train is over speeding, then this kind of information is given to the local pilots. And also backward rolling, say for example in the yard, what happens is if the yard is placed at a gradient, sometimes gradient is also used for what we say, automatically rolling the like maybe arranging the wagons of a goods train. So what may happen is there, if these coaches are not locked properly, then there can be a backward rolling, and this needs to be avoided especially. So this kind of movement, backward rolling movement, that is a brake failure of a stationary rake means train without a locomotive is called as rake. So this backward rolling of rakes can be avoided. So this SCADA, it uses mostly the GIS systems, that is say there are multiple maps. One map is of the section controlling, one map is of the existing trains which are on the network, one map is of the speed restrictions and different engineering aspects. So like that, different GIS systems is used in order to enable to know what exactly this overall, it gives an overall picture of the train movement in the region. Next we move on to CBTC, that is communication based train control system. So conventional train control system is based upon the track circuit systems. Wherever the train will hit any particular relay circuit, based upon that we will come to know where is the location of that train. So maybe every 1 kilometer or something there is some kind of relay circuit which will come to know the position of a train. But if there is a frequency is very high, Okay, say for example in London Metro Tube, okay, there is a metro train every 80 seconds, and this 80 second is always followed. Okay, you can watch some videos also where you can see the punctuality of this London Metro. 80-second frequency is also including the stopping train, stopping at a station. So as soon as one train leaves, you will see immediately the light of another train, and you will come to know that this frequency is maintained. Sometimes it is also coming to as low as 1 minute. So less than 1 minute, it is observed that it is not feasible and it is not possible to do that. Okay, for high frequency services, exact location is essential so that the safe braking distance can be minimized to achieve maximum frequency. So what we want to have is that now the number of people are very large. Okay, we cannot expect overcrowding every now and then, so we have to reduce the frequency. We cannot even make too much engineering change. So we are limited on resources, and at the same time we have to transport more and more people. So that's why we have to either we can increase the number of coaches, like in India we are having 15 coach local train also, which is very unusual, or we can reduce the distance between two different cars, but this distance should be at least minimum, so that whatever is the essential distance for braking is maintained. Anything apart from that, it is not required. So that it is found that 80 second is more appropriate. So this can be minimized to achieve this maximum. So for that purpose, this communication based control system is used, where in this system what exactly is happening, train to train communication is there, at the same time train to the system communication, both are observed at the same time. So if there is a train to train communication system, an indicator is placed which will indicate that the train ahead of you is how many meters ahead, or the train behind you is how many meters ahead. Based upon that, we can regulate our speed. So it thus has automatic train operations, that is ATO, as well as automatic train protection, or ATP. So ATP is used because if the distance headway is now very less, then automatic brakes are applied, emergency brakes are applied, so that the train can stop safely. Then we move on to, like, the next generation is now slowly we are moving towards the driverless train operations, that is GTO. Why we require is that now there are more number of people communicating from one place to another. Now the routes are getting more and more saturated. Okay, there has to be however, the trains are more reliable because now people are using mostly this kind of mass communication system only. So there is more crowding means more train is required, more train means more driver is required, so more driver means more humans are involved, so there will be more errors, and then again again the reliability will drop. Okay, so that's why we are involving some kind of technology in this driverless train operation. So these driverless trains, they are classified into various grades of automation. GOA. Okay, don't call it Goa, it is grades of automation. Grade 0 means it is on-site train, means there is no signal at all. Okay, so you have to just run a train based upon your sight. So if you see another train ahead of you, then you have to wait. So it is similar to like riding a bus only, driving a bus or driving a car only. There is no signal, no controlling at all. One means there is a manual controlling, means there is a train and signal. Okay, this is very common in Indian Railways. Most of Indian Railways signaling system is in this way. Okay, then slightly advanced is manual plus auto stopping, means if there is any emergency, then automatic stopping facility is there. Now it has started in Konkan Railway. It was the first division to start this auto stopping. Now it is also slowly introduced in another system, another grades of the Indian Railways also. And if there is a level 3, third grade, it means whatever facility is there in the second plus auto start is also there. Okay, so driver means you have to just press a button and automatically the train will start. So you cannot start it fast or you cannot start it slow as per your wish. So the train will there will be automatic starting system also. And fourth means start, stop, and all the controlling is automated. Controlling in the sense, whenever the train is stopping a metro station, at a metro station, then the doors need to be open. So this door opening and closing, it can be either manual or it can be either like say automatic. So this kind of in level 4 goals of automation, this is all, everything is control is automatic only. So like we have the first automatic train, the first driverless train. It is Delhi Metro Magenta line in Delhi. Okay, it's around I guess 40 kilometer or 40 plus kilometer route is present, and they will further extend it in the fourth phase. Okay, so next we move on to smart trains. So what do we mean by smart trains or intelligent trains also it is called as? So all there are different units in a train. All these units need to be controlled either centrally or automatically. So if everything is left to the will and decision of a human, then things may go wrong. However, there should not be any bug in the program also. Otherwise, there will be huge error, huge problems like you have seen in the auto car of the Google, and that is driverless cars. So there are a lot of errors that are happening, and fatal accidents have also happened there, and Google is sued for that. So these are the various components of smart train or intelligent train. So first of all, there is a traction inverter. So traction means something which provides the power. This inverter means you have to convert this power from say electric to mechanical, and all that conversion system is there. So this can also be made automatic based upon the various requirement of this of the train. Sometimes it is a third rail, or sometimes it is the power is taken from overhead units. Okay, and sometimes there are neutral zones also. What is a neutral zone? That is, you may read it yourself about it. But basically, there are some zones where power is not provided for some time. So at that time, you will require this auxiliary power system. In case of any failure, so we need to bring the train safely to another next station also. So for that we are having this auxiliary power system to a train, that is a standby system basically. So means whatever some maybe battery backup battery is kept, so that using that maybe it can travel some distance of 1 kilometer or something. This auxiliary power system is more important in the in case where elevated trains are used, especially in Mumbai monorail. You might have heard that there are some problems, and every time for rescuing we need the fire brigade. However, if this auxiliary power system was used, then at least some distance, maybe of 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer, it can be possible. Okay, next there is this PAS or public announcement system by the train controller, plus by the people who are by the like central communication, whoever is making the centralized traffic controller, they can also announce if any important announcement is to be made. Okay, so for example, if the train is not normally coming on any platform, and if it is like say coming on some other platform, so maybe the doors are opening on right side instead of left side. So this kind of abnormality is usually announced. Okay, then door control unit, it is called as DCU. This door control unit, it consists of the automatic relays and automatic gates to control the opening and closing of the doors. They can be automatic also. Then next it is brake electronic control unit, means automatic braking is also enabled in brake electronic control unit, or BECU, not BESU, this is BECU. So in this brake electronic control unit also, this one component. And last but very important is the ventilation and air conditioning control. So sometimes what happens is, especially in tunnels in metro rail, or say whenever a metro rail is passing through a dense corridor of which has a lot of like, so in that case we need to provide proper ventilation also. We need to control it. If it is entering a tunnel from an open area, then we have to ensure that the ventilation is improved a bit. So this HVAC control, HVAC means ventilation, high ventilation and air conditioning control. So this controlling is also done by means of the smart train system, means it can be either done centrally or it can be done by the loco pilot which is present. So this is mostly about the smart trains in this. After that, we'll move on to the um, um, after that we will move on to the fleet management system, either of Indian Railways or of buses or any basically any public transport system. So next one small topic is about fleet utilization. It is more related to intelligent logistics management. So this intelligent logistic management, first of all, we need to know what consists of logistics. One is the fleet and another is the crew. So fleet means basically suppose you are some say taxi operator, or maybe you are the owner of Uber, or say suppose you are the major decision person related to the bus operations in some municipal council, say North Dum Municipal Council, whatever buses are operating, maybe they are having 80 buses, so you are in charge of these buses. So how will you utilize these buses effectively so that all it will be helpful to transport as many people as possible? It will be useful to, like, within the minimum resources you are trying to achieve the maximum mobility as well as the maximum profit. Okay, so it is a measurement of this fleet asset, whatever are present, performance of them against the resulting profitability. So usually if it is a private enterprises, they mostly they are concerned about profit, but if it is like a state run enterprise, then they may be more concerned about transporting people more than profit. So that's why they can lower the fares also. So it is basically measuring the utilization, that if this fleet utilization is there properly made, then it will help the fleet managers to determine if any vehicle is best utilized to its capacity. Say suppose if any vehicle is very old and if it is not used much, then it is better to discard it instead of making it run. Okay, suppose return on the investment is up to the par with expectations. Suppose you are bringing a new, like maybe Volvo bus into the normal CSTC services, then whatever returns that you are getting on investing say 1 or 2 crore bus, its cost is, if suppose you are making a Mercedes Benz bus, then its cost is usually more than 2 crores. So are you getting the return whatever you are investing? Okay, and if any adjustment can be made to optimize the whatever fleet we are having. So similar to fleet, there is also a crew management. So here basically all the mobility vehicles are utilized, but in crew management we are utilizing the people. Of course, people are humans, they have to be treated like humans. They are not as same as the vehicles that we can, for example, we can make a vehicle to run for 16 hours or even 20 hours in one day, whereas in the case of humans you cannot do that, because there is a definitely there is a capacity for the humans, there are labor laws and many issues are there. So both go hand in hand. So they usually softwares are made in order to optimize, what to optimize the profit we have to maximize, and we have to minimize the crew or the fleet. Of course we cannot say that only one crew we will keep and profit we have to make them work for 24 hours in a day. Okay, so there are some labor laws that are the constraints for this particular fleet operators or taxi operators. So these kind of constraints they will help to ensure that this kind of optimization is made. Then the records of every vehicle, suppose insurance or maybe whenever the last time PUC was made, or any driver license details and all these things need to be updated, and everything needs to be kept track. So this fleet management consists of various things. Okay, the most important like the most basic is vehicle documents and insurance. Okay, then all the vehicles everything entry is made in one system only, so that if any insurance or anything is expiring, then one notification comes automatically by that particular software. Then if particular vehicle needs to be bought, more number of vehicles in the fleet, or anything needs to be sold because it has run out of its value. Okay, then this kind of notification can also be made easy, it can be decided very easily. Some tools and technologies can be made available quickly, say For example, each and every bus may be having a mobile charger, something of that sort. Okay, risk management we have to make. Suppose in this COVID-19 situation, suppose we are that Uber owner is going to start the Uber services in red zone. Suppose the government has no regulation about it, then what is the risk management? Suppose will they get enough people? Will there be enough profit? Based upon that, they have to take the risk and start. So this kind of risk management system is there. Or maybe in Mumbai I have seen it very common that even during the bunds and all, there are the BST, which is the local buses transport, they are running with the help of the screen guards. Some like metallic grill is put so that the vehicles will not be damaged during bunds. So this is also a risk management, because the entire fleet is not operational at that time. You have to decide that how much percentage of the fleet and how much percentage of the crew needs to be made utilized on the road. Okay, all maintenance records need to be updated. Otherwise, if a vehicle is not maintained properly, then there will be issue. When it comes to the crew side, then maybe some salary bonus or holiday, some kind of incentives need to be given, so that the vehicle, so that the person can perform effectively with a fresh mind. Okay, apart from that, most important is energy management. Okay, sometimes what is done is all the petrol bills are directly paid to the owner, and based upon that, there is a track that which vehicle is utilizing how much petrol over how much distance. Based upon that, the effective energy management can also be made. Okay, route management is also very important strategy if you are making any public transport. Okay, usually only the public opinion is not considered, and at the same time, even maybe some scientific inputs can also be taken into consideration based upon the usual traffic planning strategies of the four plans of the traffic planning, that will be effective to make the route management also. So these are all the components of a fleet management system. When it comes to crew management, we have to check the employee joining records, say for example age, gender, then how many years the employee is driving a vehicle, what is their fixed payroll, whether they will be promoted. All these things need to be, what is the training, how much certification they have required regarding this course. This certification, training certification, is mostly used for which thing? It is mostly used for the pilot training purposes. Okay, and recruitment, if any new recruitment is required, that also this is through the crew management system. Okay, how familiar is a driver with the particular route? Okay, suppose if an airplane is suppose they are using say driving Mumbai to Delhi route, and if they are told to land over say Sikkim, then it is sometimes not very much possible for a new driver to do that. Okay, so they need to be familiar with the network also. Otherwise, it is a bit difficult for the drivers. Say, for example, some bus driver in Haryana, if you are telling them to drive some road in Himachal Pradesh, then it is difficult, because Himachal Pradesh is a hilly road, whereas Haryana, it is mostly all are 4 lane, 8 lane highways where average speed is about 80, 60, 80 kilometers per hour. And in the hills in Himachal, it is very difficult to even go more than 40 or 50 speed. Okay, so personal relation also we have to take care, like what is the wellness, insurance, and all that. Okay, making mediclaim and all these things we have to consider in this crew management. So it is more of the PR in the management. You are studying the PR, so that kind of thing. Okay, what is the current status? Example, best example is that the driver sometimes they can hit for go home in the Uber, so that they will get the customers en route their destination. So that will be more crew friendly thing. For example, if a driver is staying somewhere in say Bali, and if he is given a route to ply every day from say Barasat to Jadavpur, then it is very difficult. But if they are given a route, say something like Kamarkundu to airport, then it will be more useful, so that they can communicate very close to their home also. So this crew management is also essential. So these softwares are now available for intelligent crew as well as the fleet management or intelligent logistic management. This is also one component of intelligent transportation systems.